I secretly bought a house, only to later catch my mom walking my brother's wife and some friend through it like she owned the place. I just smiled, waited for them to leave, and then swapped out every single lock. You ever get that gut-deep buzz before making a decision that feels like it could flip your whole life upside down? That mix of adrenaline and dread, like you're either stepping into the best thing you'll ever do, or the biggest screw-up imaginable. That's exactly what was pumping through me the day I signed the papers for 847 Maple Ridge Drive. My name's Tessa, and half a year ago I pulled a move my family never would have seen coming. I bought a house. Not just some random house, either. A beautiful craftsman-style place right in Riverside Heights. 3 bedrooms, original hardwood floors, a wraparound porch, and a kitchen that looked like it belonged in a glossy magazine spread. It was the kind of home I used to sketch in my notebooks back in middle school while pretending to pay attention in math. And the kicker? I didn't tell a soul. Not my parents, not my brother Ryan, not even Chloe, my best friend. The house was my secret hideaway, my safe place, something that was fully, finally, mine. Being the middle kid in the Whitman family, I was used to blending into the background. Ryan, the oldest, was the shining star quarterback in high school, business degree from Northwestern, married his college sweetheart Alexis, and now he runs Dad's construction company. My little sister Lila, the artsy one, she's off in Chicago working on her MFA, all on Mom and Dad's dime. And me? I was just Tessa, the practical one, the kid who juggled 2 jobs to get through community college, saved every penny, never asked for favors. While Ryan got a down payment gifted for his first house and Lila's tuition was covered, my reward was constant lectures about being more careful with money. So when I finally scraped together enough savings for a down payment, after 5 years working as a dental hygienist and running a small weekend photography gig, I decided I was going to show them exactly how responsible I could be. I found my dream house, got the mortgage pre-approval, and made an offer without breathing a word. The seller, Mrs. Donovan, was moving down to Florida to be closer to her grandkids. She lit up when she heard a young woman was buying the place she'd raised her family in. During the walkthrough, she told me about birthday parties in the backyard, Christmas mornings by the fireplace, and how the kitchen window gave the best view of kids walking to school. "This house needs a family again," she told me as she pressed the keys into my palm on closing day. "It's been waiting for the right person." For the next 3 months, I slowly built a home in secret. I'd swing by after work, sometimes just to sit on the porch and watch the sunset melt into pink and orange. I planted tulips out front, strung lights in the backyard, and even brought home a rescue cat, a ginger tabby I named Cinnamon. She seemed to know our little secret was something worth guarding. The plan was simple. Live quietly for a few months, settle in, and then reveal everything at Christmas dinner. I wanted to casually drop, "Oh yeah, I bought a house," and then watch their faces when it sunk in that their irresponsible daughter had managed it on her own. But life doesn't always let you stick to the script. One Tuesday morning in late October, things started to fall apart. I was at work, cleaning Mrs. Caldwell's teeth while she griped about her son-in-law's eating habits, when my phone buzzed with a security camera alert. Yeah, I'd installed cameras. Call me paranoid, but I live alone and I've seen enough true crime documentaries to know better. I had them set up to cover the doors and driveway just for peace of mind. I usually ignored the alerts during work, but for some reason I checked this one. The second I saw the screen, my stomach dropped. Clear as day, standing on my porch, was my mom. And she wasn't alone. My sister-in-law Alexis was right there with her, along with a blonde woman I didn't recognize, dressed in a pricey-looking coat. I watched as Mom dug around in her purse, pulled out a key, and let herself into my house. A key to my house. The app said they'd already been inside for 7 minutes. "Mrs. Caldwell, I'm really sorry," I said, keeping my voice steady even though my chest felt like it was splitting. "I just had a family emergency come up. We'll have to reschedule." Then I drove like a bat out of hell to Maple Ridge Drive, questions spinning through my head the whole way. How did Mom even know about the house? Where did she get a key? And why was she parading people through it? By the time I pulled up, they were gone. But the evidence was all over. The front door sat half open, classic Mom move, never locking up properly. Inside, I spotted little disturbances. Cabinet doors ajar, furniture shifted, even the fridge door left cracked. But the note on my counter, that's what really broke me. In Mom's neat handwriting, "Tessa, honey, I know you're upset, but this is for the best. Alexis and Marissa, my realtor friend, Think this place has real potential. We'll talk tonight. Love, Mom. V.S. Cute. I sank onto the couch, the one I'd saved months to buy, picked carefully to fit this very room, and tried to wrap my head around it. Mom had found out about my house, gotten herself a key, and was now showing it off like it was on the market. Felt like someone had knocked the wind out of me. It wasn't just about the house. It was about every time my wins had been brushed off. Every time I'd been treated like the extra kid, the one who couldn't possibly know what was best for herself. I called her right away. "Oh, good. You saw my note," she said cheerfully, like breaking into someone's house was no big deal. "Sweetie, I know you're probably confused." "Confused?" I snapped. "Mom, how did you even get a key to my house?" "Well, Mrs. Donovan's daughter is in my book club," she explained. "When she mentioned selling to a young Whitman girl, I figured it out. I've just been worried about you living there all alone. It's not safe for a single woman, and honestly, that mortgage has to be stretching you thin." The neighborhood was one of the safest in town, but that wasn't even the point. "So you just got yourself a spare key and started showing strangers around?" I shot back. "Alexis told me she and Ryan were looking into rental properties, and Marissa is the best realtor in the county." I thought. I hung up. That night, my phone didn't stop buzzing. First Mom, then Ryan, then Dad with his usual, "let's just all be reasonable" routine. I ignored every call and spent the evening looking up locksmiths. But ignoring only works for so long. The next day, Ryan came to my job. "Tess, we need to talk," he said, using the old nickname that usually softened me up. "Not now. I'm working." "Tess, listen. Mom told me what happened. I swear I had no clue she was going to pull that. Alexis just mentioned she was curious about investment properties. And Mom, well, you know how she gets when she thinks she's helping." I finished updating my patience chart before looking up at him. At 32, Ryan still had that effortless charm, dark hair, green eyes, khakis, and a button-down making him look every inch the polished businessman. "How long have you known?" I asked. "Known what?" Ryan asked, eyebrows pulling together. "About the house." I shot back. "How long have you known I bought it?" He actually looked guilty for a second, which told me everything before he even opened his mouth. "Mom figured it out about a month ago," he admitted. "She said you were being secretive, acting different. She asked me to talk to you, but I told her to back off. Guess she didn't take that advice." "Tess, she's not trying to hurt you. She's just worried." "That neighborhood is fine," I said firmly. "And even if it wasn't, the choice is still mine to make. I'm 28 years old, Ryan. I don't need Mom's permission to buy a damn house." "Of course not," he said quickly. "But maybe you could have told us. We're family." That word, family, sat heavy in the air, like a test I was bound to fail. To Ryan, family meant you shared everything, every big decision, every milestone. But my version of family had always looked different. For Ryan, it was endless support and applause. For Lila, it was financial backing and encouragement for every wild idea she had. For me, family was skepticism, lectures about being practical, and a constant reminder that I wasn't trusted to make adult choices on my own. "I'll call Mom tonight," I finally said. "But Ryan, let me make one thing crystal clear. If you, Alexis, or anyone else ever shows up at my house uninvited again, I'm calling the police. That's not me being dramatic. It's a promise." His face went red. "Jesus, Tess. She's our mother, not a criminal. She broke into my house, Ryan. She's got a key I never gave her." People in the waiting room were starting to glance our way, so I dropped my voice. "I've got to get back to work. We'll talk later." When he left, I caught the look on his face. It was the same one he'd given me when we were kids and I'd done something that didn't make sense to him. A mix of frustration and pity, like I was being stubborn just to make his life harder. That night, I hired a locksmith. "Tessa Marie Whitman, open this door right now." Mom's voice bellowed through my brand new deadbolt on Thursday evening, each pound of her fist rattling the doorframe. I sat curled on my couch, cinnamon purring in my lap, and watched through the window as she jabbed the doorbell like she was trying to set a world record. "I know you're in there. Your car's in the driveway." I'd been bracing for this all day. Leo, the locksmith from LockPro Services, had finished that morning. He'd put in fresh deadbolts, new doorknobs, even a lock on the back gate. When I described the situation, calling it a family boundary problem, he'd given me a knowing nod. Family drama's the worst, he said, testing the new keys. Good for you for setting some boundaries. Now, watching Mom huff and pound on the door, I felt this strange cocktail of guilt and triumph. I hated the guilt, but the triumph? That felt pretty good. My phone buzzed. Mom. Tessa. This is ridiculous. She snapped the second I picked up. Open the door so we can talk like adults. We can talk through the door, Mom, I said evenly. Or, here's a thought. You can call ahead like normal people do. Normal people don't change their locks to keep their mothers out. Normal mothers don't sneak into their daughters' houses. She paused, recalibrating. I could hear it in the silence. Honey, I know you're upset. I should have asked before showing the house, I admit that. But I was genuinely worried. That neighborhood, the mortgage, this is too much for someone in your situation. My situation? You know what I mean. You're doing well, sweetheart. But this house is ambitious. Ryan and Alexis could help with the payments if you rented it to them. Or, if you sold while the market's hot, you could make a nice profit and buy something more appropriate. There it was again. Appropriate. My entire life had been measured against that word. My career was appropriate for someone who didn't go to a big university. My tiny apartment was appropriate for a single woman. My used car was appropriate for my budget. But this house I'd worked, saved, and fought for, it was apparently too much for me. Not appropriate. I'm not selling, Mom. But if you just listen to Marissa, I don't care what Marissa thinks, or Ryan, or Alexis. This is my house and I'm keeping it. Tessa Marie, you are being stubborn and reckless. This is exactly the kind of impulsive choice that worries your father and me. You can't just lock us out when we're trying to help. I walked to the window and looked out. Even in the glow of the porch light, I could see her face twisted in that familiar mix of anger and concern she wore every time I slipped out of her control. I'm not shutting you out, Mom. I'm setting boundaries. You want to come over? Call first and ask. If I say no, you respect that. And you definitely don't test strangers through my house without asking. I was only trying to show you your options. I didn't ask for options. The line went quiet. When she finally spoke again, her voice was stiff and wounded. Fine. Have it your way. But don't come crawling to us when this house becomes too much for you. Don't expect us to bail you out when you realize you've made a mistake. She hung up. I stood there and watched through the window as she stormed off to Dad's old Ford pickup, slamming the door harder than necessary before peeling out of the driveway. I should have felt like I'd won. I should have felt strong for standing up to her, proud for defending my boundaries. Instead, all I felt was bone-deep loneliness. The next 2 weeks dragged. No calls from Mom, nothing from Ryan, not even a text. Lila, who usually stayed out of family drama, sent just one half-hearted message. Heard about the house mess. Maybe just apologize and move on. Apologize? For what? For buying a house? For wanting some privacy? For not letting them run my life? I poured myself into the house instead. Painted the guest room a soft lavender. Put up floating shelves in the living room. Hung the gallery wall of photos I'd been planning for months. Cinnamon followed me from room to room like a tiny supervisor, sunbathing by the kitchen window when he got bored. But even as the house became more me, the hollow ache in my chest stayed. I'd gotten what I wanted. Independence, boundaries, respect for my choices. But the silence, the distance from my family, was heavier than I expected. Then one night, Chloe showed up with a greasy bag from Marco's and a bottle of wine. All right, spill, she said, plopping down on my living room floor with her chicken parmesan. I heard through the grapevine that you bought a house and are now in an all-out war with the Whitman clan. As your best friend, I am offended I had to learn this from my hairdresser, whose cousin works at the title company. Chloe had been my ride or die since 7th grade, when we bonded over terrible cafeteria pizza. She was the only person who never made me feel like I had to apologize for existing, which was probably why I'd been avoiding her. I knew she'd force me to face questions I wasn't ready for. I wasn't trying to hurt anybody, I said, my voice sharper than I meant. I just wanted something that was mine, you know? Something no one else could critique or try to fix. And instead of enjoying your gorgeous house, which is absolutely stunning, by the way, you've been sitting here eating sad little sandwiches and sulking like you're stuck in some Victorian drama. She wasn't wrong. I had been eating a lot of sad sandwiches. They've never really respected me. Honestly, I don't think they ever have. Mom even went as far as getting a spare key to my place, through someone else's daughter no less, and she gave tours of my house like it was her personal trophy to show off. Ryan acted like it was perfectly normal for them to sit around talking about my finances behind my back. And Dad? He just wanted me to play nice, meet them halfway, and understand where they're coming from. So when someone asked, "What's your end game here?" all I could think to say was, "Never speak to them again." I sat there staring at my wine glass, watching the light from my new lampshade dance across the surface of the liquid. "I don't know," I whispered. 3 days later, everything got turned upside down again. I was leaving work when I noticed Ryan's Chevy Silverado in the lot. But instead of my brother behind the wheel, it was Alexis. She rolled the window down as I walked toward my beat-up Honda Civic. Her face gave nothing away. "Can we talk?" she asked. Alexis and I had never been close. We were polite, sure, but not much more. She was everything I wasn't. Bubbly, blonde, always full of sunshine, with a marketing degree and this uncanny ability to make Ryan feel like he was the most important man alive. We'd never gone beyond polite chit-chat at family dinners. "If this is about the house," I started. "It is, but probably not how you think." She cut me off. She motioned toward the passenger seat. "Please, just 5 minutes." Against my better judgment, I climbed into the truck. Alexis immediately turned, her usual sparkle replaced by a heavy seriousness. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "A big one." That was the last thing I expected to hear. Ryan doesn't know I'm here, and if he did, he'd lose it. But I can't keep quiet anymore. I need to tell you the truth. "The truth about what?" I asked. She drew in a long breath. "Your mom didn't just randomly decide to show me your house. I asked her to." My stomach dropped. "Excuse me?" "Not the way it sounds," she rushed to add. "God, I'm saying this all wrong. Look, Ryan and we've been struggling. Money's tight. His dad's company is in worse shape than anyone wants to admit, and we've fallen behind on the mortgage. Ryan is too proud to admit it to your parents." I just sat there, trying to absorb what I was hearing. Ryan, the golden child, the one who had it all together, was drowning financially. "When your mom mentioned you'd bought a house, and I swear, Tessa, I didn't know you were keeping it a secret." I panicked. "I thought maybe you'd be willing to rent out a room, or even let us house sit sometimes. I wasn't trying to take your house away from you. I was desperate, just grabbing at straws." Pieces started falling into place, but the picture they painted wasn't pretty. "So you asked Mom to show you around?" I pressed. "I only asked if she thought you'd consider having roommates. She said she'd check." I had no idea she'd break in like some kind of realtor. When Ryan told me what happened, I felt sick. This whole mess. It's on me. We sat in silence, the weight of her confession hanging in the air. "Why didn't Ryan just ask me for help?" I finally said. Alexis let out a laugh that sounded more like a sob. "Because of pride. He's supposed to be the one who has it all figured out, remember? Admitting he needed his little sister's help would have been like admitting defeat." Little sister. Even she saw me that way. "I'm not little anymore," I said quietly. "No, you're not," Alexis agreed, glancing around at my car, my work badge, the little signs of the life I'd built. "And for what it's worth, your house is stunning. You should be proud." That was the first time anyone in my family had ever said something like that. That weekend, I surprised myself. I invited the whole family over for dinner. Mom, Dad, Ryan, Alexis, even Lila made the drive from Chicago. Saturday morning, I sent the group text. "Family dinner at my place. Sunday at 6. Casual clothes. I'm cooking." The responses rolled in. A mix of confused emojis and cautious yes. Mom called me twice, but I let it go to voicemail. I had work to do. Sunday evening, I stood at my window as they pulled up. Mom got out of Dad's truck, looking nervous. Ryan and Alexis stepped out of the Silverado, Alexis clutching a bottle of wine. Lila pulled up last in her beat-up Subaru, curls spilling from a messy bun. I opened the door before they could knock. "Welcome to my home," I said, stepping aside. The tour I gave them was nothing like the one Mom had led behind my back. I walked them through every room, explaining why I'd chosen certain colors, pointing out the original details, introducing them to Cinnamon. I watched their faces as they actually saw the home I'd created. "Tessa, this is..." Dad started, running his hand along the mantelpiece, his contractor's instincts kicking in. but the words seemed to stick in his throat. It's gorgeous, Lila finished for him. I can't believe you did all this by yourself. Over lasagna, garlic bread, and salad fresh from my backyard garden. I told them everything. How I'd saved for years. How I'd researched neighborhoods, loans, and inspections. How I knew this was the house the moment I saw it. But why didn't you tell us? Mom asked softly. We could have helped. Because I wanted to do it myself, I said. Every time I've made a choice in my life, this family has weighed in on how I should have done it differently. I just wanted one thing. Something that was mine alone. Ryan shifted uncomfortably. We don't really do that. I looked him in the eye. Ryan, when I started my photography business, what did you call it? He said nothing. You said it was cute that I had a little hobby. Dad, when I got promoted to lead hygienist, you said it was good practice until I chose a real career. Mom, when I bought my Jeep, you spent an hour explaining why a sedan would have been smarter. The room went silent. I love you all, I continued, but I had to prove I could make choices without a committee. And I did. I bought this house and I'm proud of it. Alexis spoke suddenly. I owe you an apology too. About the rental thing. I should have come to you directly. Ryan turned to her, clearly hearing this for the first time. Money troubles? I asked gently. Ryan's jaw tightened, but Alexis nodded. The construction business has been slow. We're holding on, but it's been rough. I really looked at Ryan then. The lines around his eyes, the way his shoulders carried more weight than he admitted. He wasn't the golden boy anymore. If you need help, I started. We don't. Ryan began, then stopped himself. Sorry. Habit. If you need help, I repeated, ask me. But you come to me directly, and you respect whatever answer I give. Deal? He nodded, looking caught off guard. And Mom, I turned to her. I'm not mad at you for wanting to help. I'm mad because you didn't trust me enough to handle my own life. Getting a key without asking, showing strangers through my house, making plans for it, that wasn't help. That was control. Her eyes welled up. I just worry about you. You're so determined to do everything yourself. I wanted to make sure you had options. I get that, but I need you to trust me. Even if I make mistakes, they're mine to make. We talked until almost midnight. It wasn't pretty. There were tears, shouting, moments where I thought someone might storm out, but it was real. More real than we'd been in years. When they finally left, Mom hugged me longer than usual. I'm proud of you, she whispered. I should have said that from the start. I stood in the doorway, watching their taillights fade down Maple Ridge Drive, and felt something shift inside me. The emptiness I'd been carrying finally started to fill with something warmer. As I lingered there, my phone buzzed. A text from Ryan. Thanks for dinner. The house is amazing. You did good, sis. That night, for the first time in months, I fell asleep feeling like I truly belonged. Not just in my house, but in my family. The difference was, this time I belonged on my own terms. And honestly, that made all the difference.